Okay, and welcome everybody. Ari Rosebaum here with Chad Azara from PCS for this. Well, it's not this week's episode. This every other week's episode of that 4K virtual bunch. Chad, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm fine. I probably could use a haircut. I haven't had a haircut. I haven't had a haircut at the barber since March. I've done it myself a few times, but anyway, let me just talk about some of the events that I'm working on. It's always, I always got a shill for my events. The next time we do this virtual bunch, we're going to do it in 2 weeks. My guest is going to be Ron Stair from Comprehensive Plane Designs. He's a TPA out here in Long Island, one of the funniest guys you've ever met in the TPA world. There are TPAs that are actually funny. So he'll be there in 2 weeks on the 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern. Then we're going to do that 4K Virtual Conference 6. That's going to be on September 25th, a Friday. That 4K Virtual Conference 7, that's going to be on October 23rd. We tie those events. If people want to sponsor that 401k National Virtual Conference in January, then they could sponsor the virtual monthly conferences for free, one slot. And I talked to my buddy Larry today, so I'm wearing the jersey of the guy that I booked for the first day of that 401k virtual conference, National Virtual Conference in January. And the guy we booked is Walt Clyde Frazier from the New York Knicks. He's a Knicks broadcaster. He's a fashion icon from the 70s. I had some people that we thought about doing, but, budget considerations, and I was looking for somebody who was more of an icon, and Clyde, certainly an icon in terms of the 1970s. I've met him a few times. He only guy I know who can get away with what he wears in terms of print designs, and I'm sure he'll be with us and give some loud dress wear. And that will be in January, so that's when the season may start again. We'll see. And of course, I just saw Mike Webb say, if you want to sign up, there's a VIP package. You get autographs from the guests. And of course, go to that 4ksite.com to sign up, starting at $20.21. And for sponsorships, you can find out more information about that. In terms of the VIP package, Greg, I think it's there are two different levels. I think it's like $100 extra for the first level, which gets you the autographs, and the second level you get a T-shirt. And of course, Mike has to be the guy who gets the T-shirt. So anyway, Chad, your experience in the retirement plan business, everybody, when it comes to me, everybody jokes, how'd you start in the 401k plan business? And I said that was the first job I got, and that's how I started in the 401k plan business. Risk attorney, starting out $35,000. How did it start for you? And, tell me about, the different places you...
Well, I mean, my first job out of college, I worked at Prudential. As a financial advisor, being 21 years old and being a financial advisor, I don't think is the best. It's a difficult road. But I did sell a retirement plan. I sold a SEP. So that was my first foray into the retirement plan space. Then I moved to Schwab. So I worked at Schwab for 13 years of my career. So on and off twice. I was there. I started off in Richfield in the call center for Schwab Bundle.
Richfield, Ohio. Richfield,
yeah,
Ohio.
In Ohio. So
home of the former Richfield Coliseum, which was nowhere near Cleveland. But
yeah, that's right.
Cavaliers, right? Cavaliers played there.
Cavaliers, yeah.
This is pre Dan Gilbert.
Pre Dan Gilbert. It was what was his name?
Pre Gateway. Gund Arena opened up in '94.
Yeah.
The Jacobs Field opened up, I think, in '93 or '94, and Richfield Coliseum was in between Cleveland and what was it, Dayton? It was like a small highway, and it was like impossible to get to, and then they started the Gund Arena, and Jacobs Field was the idea we could go back into the city and have stadiums and all that stuff. But
yeah.
This is the Craig Elo, Brad Doherty,
Yes.
Mark Price era.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great teams.
When Jordan hit that shot over Craig Elo, that was at Richfield Coliseum.
Yeah, it's always painful every time they show it all the time.
I remember watching that. I remember watching that live.
Yeah.
I do too, Ari. I'll never forget that one. Sorry, Chad. Ari's wearing a Knicks jersey. As New Yorkers, we get the pain, man, of the Bulls. We felt it.
Yeah, you did. I mean, I actually liked that. I liked the Knicks back in the day because they used to give the Bulls hell, and I love John Starks. That was my I was big John Starks.
John Starks is first of all, I'm a Clippers fan now. I think when Dolan I'm just a Clippers fan now. But the thing with Starks is my buddy Larry, who, if you go to the conferences, I mean, you met Larry in Cleveland and some of the other places, and you were at the first one at Citi Field. Yeah. So Larry's very good friends with John Starks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, he'll book John Starks for events, and I don't like John Starks.
Really?
Well, I don't like John Starks just because of Game 6 of the '94 Finals, or was it Game 7? Game 7, I think it was Game 7. When did he go for 2 for 16 or something like that?
2 for 19, Ari. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. So Larry will have events with John Starks, and there was a time where Larry had an event in Freeport, and if you know Long Island, Freeport and Oceanside, it's 15 minutes away. I will not go see John Starks. One of these days I will see John Starks because I find out now he has a cigar business where he doesn't make his own cigars, but he has a cigar brand, and maybe I'll see him. But yeah, John Starks, yeah, that hurts.
he wasn't obviously he was a guard, and he used to dunk on all the big men, and I just love that.
No, he was great because he was not a first round pick. He was a guy that they picked up, I think, from the Golden State Warriors. So he's one of those tenacious players. I mean, he was a great shooter and all that stuff. But but one day we'll bury the hatchet. Not that he thinks that there's a hatchet, but I have the hatchet with him. So Richfield, Ohio.
Yep. So I started off at Schwab in Richfield in the call center. Moved up. So interesting story about that. So Walt Bettinger, who is now the CEO of Schwab, it was small back then. We had maybe 100 employees in that location, and Walt was the CEO. He basically started a company called Hampton Retirement Services. It was a TPA, regional TPA. They used SRT. Schwab was looking to buy get into the space. And they asked, who was they thought was the best, and Walt was it. So they bought that shop. I came over shortly after that when they brought in their own retirement plan. Schwab brought in their own retirement plan.
What time frame is? Because I remember Hampton in '99, 2000. Because I remember working on plans that we had taken over when I was at Mobius Tech CBIZ. We were taking plans over for Hampton.
Okay. Yeah. So it was 9. I started in '98 there.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So it was. So I got to know him, and it was. I mean, it's cool to know that CEO of a large company. He used to actually hang out with people back in the day. So it was
98. So yeah, because 98 is when I started. 98 was funny because it's the call center was a big deal. There was no websites, Everything was paper and pen and call centers.
Yeah, call centers, and that was the .com stuff happened that following year, and we did have hundreds of calls coming in because everybody wanted to day trade their, which you couldn't day trade, but to trade their 401k plans in and out every day. So started there, worked at Schwab moved different departments inside Schwab, and moved down to Charlotte in 2004. Worked at, I got a call from Wachovia. They asked me if I'd ever, consider moving to Charlotte. I think the winter lasted from previous to the 2003 winter lasted from September through May, and and it rained the previous summer, and I'm like, yes, I was single. I'm like, get me out of here. I'm tired of, I love Cleveland, but the weather's not the best. So moved down to Charlotte, worked at Wachovia for about a year and a half. Then actually went back to Schwab on the custody side, and worked with probably 40 different independent record keepers. That's where actually I think I met Ari. I still remember getting emails from you, and I saw one of the articles, and it was Greg Jeffries, and I loved, I still remember, like, I loved, I was a big baseball card collector, and that Greg Jeffries card, he was going to be the next best thing. And
Greg Jeffries, that was 88. And I had a friend of mine who was so that's high school, and we would go to the local Woolworths. But I mean, of course, that times me exactly. The local Woolworths, and that's where they had like the Flair rack packs and Donruss rack packs. Because if you go to the normal, newsstand, they only had tops. And, to try to, find the Greg Jeffries, and it was 88 and 80, actually it was 89 too. We had the Billy Ripken error. So, yeah. So
Billy Ripken, what was with that card, Ari?
I don't want to bleep myself out, but, there was there was an exclusive on his baseball, on his bat knob. So, and we went crazy for that one, and
I actually still refer to my younger brother as Billy Ripken. It's a little inside family. Just letting you guys in on it.
Yeah, well, now I got the card bug again because I got my son with the cards, and I've got like this crazy graded card collection that I hope to, in the next 5 years, use that to buy a house. Like I have I have so graded cards, like the biggest thing, and I have like the number one. I mean, that and like, was it $250 to get on the city subway now? I have the number one graded Catfish Hunter Topps set.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't give me anything, but it's, and I'm number 2 for Gil Hodges, but yeah, the cards, the Greg Jeffries, and I write all these crazy articles. It's like, people say, you said the Greg Jeffries. I'm like, oh, wow. And Mike Webb always points out like the cultural illusions. He's like, oh my, we'll talk about disaster movies or whatever it is. And that's a way to hook people in. So, so I'm glad I hooked you in with Greg Jeffries.
Yeah, at least
you did. 88 was a disaster of a year for the Mets, by the way. So,
what?
Well, while we're continuing on all the bad New York sports memories, the 88 series against the Dodgers was a disaster.
Yeah, well, 88 series, I've talked to Doc because he was like the first guest at my first event, and I've talked to Lenny Dykstra, and they both admit that Doc should have started Game 7 at Ron Darling.
Absolutely. So they brought him in as in relief, and he didn't pitch well in relief, and he's not a reliever. So I'm still a little sore about that one.
Yeah, that's the one that got away. That in 2006, but whatever. So let's get back to So well, 2015. I went to the World Series. That wasn't so bad. 2006 was a better team.
Yeah.
And I still haven't forget. I met Beltran, and I kind of buried the hatchet with him. He doesn't know I had a hatchet with him, but I met him, and he looked at that strike. But anyway, so we met.
So I worked with a bunch of different independent rec keepers and TPAs when I was at Schwab, and I moved to rec keeper up in Rochester. Was there for a few years. Was very successful, and then became a national sales manager at PCS about 4 years ago. Chose to come to PCS because honestly, some of the technologies, I felt was some of the, game changing in the industry. It really is a differentiator for us, the advisor lab, and the way we use Salesforce, integrated into everything we do. We spend a lot of money internally in Salesforce, and it really helps.
We'll talk about the advisor lab, because I think that was always a fantastic idea. Because when we did the event in Chicago, you ran the advisor event like around the same time. And had I had my son, I would have shown up. But with my son, he wants what he wants to do. But yeah.
Yeah. So the advisor lab is really a tool suite that we built, or Mark and another gentleman, Mark is our CEO, built in 2001. I'm sorry, 2010. It really is a tool suite. We have a direct feed in the DOL database ourselves. So we pull a feed every month into our technology. It's a prospecting, benchmarking, comparison, proposal, and once the plan's on board, it's a whole management tool suite. So it really takes it provides an advisor a whole life cycle of a plan from the prospecting side to managing the business. It really is our secret sauce in many ways to our growth. We've been very fortunate. We've 13 years in a row Inc. 5000 fastest growing firms. Last year we won, or I guess we're the current in reigning Schwab. Schwab named us the best in retirement provider. We won an FIS award for our investment management tool suite this year. So we've had, we integrated with InvestNet this past year. We've had a lot of great success and a lot of growth. I think some of you may or may not know that we bought Aspire in September. I guess it's been a year now, August, September of last year, which took us to a different level and opened up a whole new suite of services that we can offer. We're now I think the fourth largest or third or fourth largest independent, depending on the day, record keeper in the space. So it gave us, I feel like we something that we didn't do great was marketing our name in the past. And now, and a lot of people, it's something that Aspire did really well is market their name. So, people know the Aspire name, and it just gave us the scale to be good in the market space.
Are you guys gonna keep the Aspire name, or it's gonna?
So we are. So we're gonna keep. They're gonna be Aspire, a PCS retirement company. Really, we're not putting any new ERISA-based business on that platform. It's all going to be non-ERISA 403Bs, simple SEPs, 457 plans, payroll deduct IRAs. So they have the CEO, the former CEO of Aspire, Pete Kirtland, if anybody knows him. He's really going to be the salesperson over there. He's managing the sales, and with another gentleman named Matt Drummond. But they're focusing on that space and working with, that is something I'd say, I worked with them when I was at Schwab, and when competing with them, they did really well as the non-ERISA 403Bs. That's how they grew so quickly back in the mid to late 2000s. They did it, and they still do, and we still do a great job. I should say we still do a great job at the 403B space. All the ERISA-based business is going to be, any new business is going to be on the traditional PCS platform.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that they did really well with non-ERISA 403B, because I always say that that's like the last racket left. It's just in terms of, costs, and especially on the teacher side, the whole idea, like you have a school district and they have 7 or 8 choices for a 403B. So I'm sure they're doing a great job with that, because, they're competing against some really expensive products out there on the school district level.
Yeah. The nice thing that, that we bring to the table from we have a really good development team. And I think that space overall is not very automated as far as account setup and just the whole process in general. And we're automating it for those retirement plans and the 403Bs and the individual users. So it is nice that we can bring that to the table for that space. And there's a lot of growth. It's really, like you said, there's a lot of providers out there that are very costly, and we can drive down the cost and provide a really good service.
Yeah, I worked when I was working at a law firm. I worked with a teacher organization that had gotten in trouble on on their 403B plan. They were being sued in a class action, and they decided that they still wanted their own proprietary product in New York. And the problem was, based on how New York had like something like 900 school districts, everybody that was very cost effective, like Fidelity and Vanguard, they didn't want to offer their services for this proprietary product because, you know, they just did not want to go and compete against, you know, all these different providers in 900 school districts. So it's a very, very challenging business. So like I said, the last good racket left.
Yeah. So I saw some people mention that, you know, so Cantor Fitzgerald's probably our largest client. So we've had them for quite a while. But yeah, so they're one of our
interesting point, Chad. I loved working with trying to recall some of the folks down in Philly, Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn did. That's yep.
Yeah, wonderful working relationship. You know, very good customer service, responsiveness, etc. One interesting thing about our plan was we didn't have a match at all.
Oh, wow.
And I pushed hard for it. I was very confused why, you know, the plan design, and you know, didn't come to fruition. Yeah, I just thought I'd share that. You know, there are plan sponsors in the large plan space that don't do matches, you know, for a variety of reasons, but, you know, definitely cost was a factor.
Yeah. Cantor's a big, you know, a big organization. You know, obviously, I mean, I worked at Schwab. We had a match. I mean, there's a lot of big organizations that do have match, obviously, but yeah, I couldn't tell you why from our side.
How do you, pre-COVID, because we're friends on Facebook, how did you do the travel between Philly and the Carolinas?
You know, I try to do direct as much as I could. It's very expensive to fly to Philly. Yeah. Very expensive. I mean, it's like I could fly to New York for $250. If I fly to Philly, it's $850. So I try to do, you know, I try to fly direct as much as I could. Sometimes I'd have to, you know, have a layover.
I mean, how do you do it? Because, like, you know, when I was doing the conferences live and you're doing 9 a year and every month you're traveling, I'm like, every single time I would do it, I'm like, how do you know, my buddy Rich Florida, may rest in peace, he was a salesperson. I'm like, I never understood how people like do that. Once a month was enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, typically from February through mid-June, late June, I usually am on the road every week, and it's exhausting, and it's not good for your health so much either, because you know you have good intentions in packing your workout clothes, but you know, going out and entertaining and doing conferences and things of that nature.
Any favorite destinations, Chad?
You know, living in the South, you know, it might be, and it's not that far away. Charleston is my favorite city in the U.S. It's
a nice town.
I love it. I mean, I love Savannah, but Charleston's great. You know, I see Rice down there. And New Orleans, the history of this guy. I love historical towns. You know, I actually, you know, going to Philly, you know, I think Philly gets a bad rap. The Center City, there's a lot of history there in the buildings, and it's really beautiful.
I love Philadelphia. I only started going there when I had a fan, you know, in my 30s, and it's just like we go now. We have a friend. I have a friend who's got a good relationship with the Phillies, so he always gets us Phillies Mets tickets like once a year. But to go in Center City and the history, and it's not, you know, for me, it's not a far drive. You know, it's a couple hours. Yeah. To me, my favorite city outside of New York, San Diego / LA, you know, San Diego, LA, and still a big fan of Boston.
Yeah.
And Chicago.
Philly's not bad. I went to undergrad in Philly. It's not a bad town.
Food's great. I like it. I just, you know, anytime I could go, I'd go, you know. And the Barnes, they got some great museums. The Barnes Foundation Museum is pretty fantastic. And one of these days I'll run up the Rocky Steps.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't done.
Well, they moved the Rocky though. He's not on the steps anymore.
I don't even know they keep on moving him. One time he was at the Spectrum. I don't know. They keep on doing it. So what are the challenges these days about being a TPA? I mean, what's their name has been, they're a Pennsylvania-based business. They've been buying TPAs left and right. What are the challenges besides that you see in the TPA business?
I mean, there is a lot of consolidation in the space, and it is, and there's a lot of fee compression in the space also. It's for rec keeper in TPA, cybersecurity is a huge issue for, all of us. And, I had a conversation earlier today about, one of our competitors, and who's, I think they're the largest in the space, and how much money they're spending on cybersecurity. And we're not spending $53 million, but from a percentage wise, we're probably spending, a equal portion on that. That is probably the biggest threat to our space and to the smaller rec keepers in TPAs is cybersecurity. It's it's amazing that or the attacks that come and the things that they do. I remember one last year we had, they got the paperwork, they forged, the signatures on the paperwork, they forged the plan sponsor signature, they forged the notary, they forged, the telephone numbers, and they changed the email in the system. Since they changed the email, we reached out, because, and we do that now for every distribution, but we reached out and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. So we haven't been, luckily nothing's happened to us, and we stopped doing ACHs because you can't get the money back after you ACH versus a check, which you can stop. So that is the biggest threat and challenge, in my opinion, to rec keepers and TPAs right now, is mitigating that risk and to be successful, to put enough money in to invest in security, and also still reinvest in your corporation and the technology that you're offering, to stay competitive with the mega providers and the insurance providers. Those are two of the things that, luckily we do have the scale, and we have invested heavily into that. But for others out there, it's more difficult. Actually, what I focus on now is I work on outsourcing, from other rec keepers to PCS. So if you have 120, 200, 300 plans, you don't have the scale. So if we can private label everything for, for those rec keepers, so they can have the same revenue, potentially the same, profit margin, and then they just, they're mitigating the risk by outsourcing the technology to us. They're still remaining the face. Their brand's still the face to the client. It can make sense for providers in the space.
Yeah, people don't realize the cost of daily valuation, the entire system. And I remember when I worked at CBiz, the law firm affiliated with CBiz, Mobius Tech, whatever we were called at the time. And I remember we were a money loser on the daily side, just the costs. And, that's why eventually CBiz bought them out and eventually sold the business to Bisis. But I mean, for these small time shops, loading off those plans to you might make, absolute sense.
Yeah. So so Michael asked a question: what's the optimal market for TPAs? I mean, we operate in, mainly in the 10 million and below space. That's where 95% of the plans are at. We do have some mega market plans. Like Cantor is one of our larger plans, and but that space is so fee compressed, and it's really served somewhat well. The small market space we feel is still not served that well, and there's still a lot of opportunity, for to cut down price, provide better service, and the investments a lot of times are inappropriate. I mean, I think the last thing I saw from Cerulli, there's still like 45% of plants that are all A shares. To me, that's not the best thing to have in plans. So.
Old employer plans. A lot of TPAs don't want to do it. Our buddies, the retire-holics, I know that JD does not like PEPs. He's vehemently, I think he's vehemently opposed to it. And back in the day, I remember with MEPs, I knew a TPA out here in Long Island, and the guy running the place was somebody I used to work with at CBiz. And I remember seeing him at Schwab Impact, and we're talking about MEPs, and he's like, I don't want to do it. I want customers that, pay bills, which I didn't understand what that meant. I mean, MEP adopting employers do pay bills too.
Yeah.
What do you think about PEPs? What are your plans for PEPs? Do you think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread? Which I don't.
I don't. We are coming out with our own PEP. We're designing because and I'm on that project team, and I mean we have a competitive offering, and it's a good offering, and I am of the opinion, and I want to see it do well before I believe it's going to be real. MEPs, it's not too much different than a MEP. I've worked on many MEPs over the years. Always great aspirations that they're going to take off. Everybody's like, I have the best relationship.
Yeah, you're preaching the gospel to me, because that's the same exact view that I have. Yeah. So it's
yeah. So everyone's like, I have this great relationship with this.
I know this payroll provider, and they're going to refer me 200 clients, and then they'll get 2.
Yes. Yeah. And it's still tough because the first people in are still going to, you don't have the scale yet. So you don't get that cost savings. And if you don't get that cost savings, why wouldn't you do, your own plan on your own? This PEP may be different there, because it is structured a little bit different. And we're trying to structure it so you have some more individuality, and the cost. We're working on that. I'm working on that with internally also, but I just don't. I got to see it before I believe it. Just because I've been burned too many times with MEPs.
Yeah, I just finished writing an article about it for PEPs for plan providers, and they say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I still think sliced bread isn't all that to do. Sliced smoked salmon is a bigger deal because it really made lox and smoked salmon really more cost effective. But I agree. It's like the caveat that I have is like, I know so many advisors, so many RIA firms, and everybody wants their own PEP. And I'm trying to talk them out of it. I'm like, you don't understand. You might cannibalize your business. You're never going to bring in the assets, and it's going to fail. It's going to be like 90 to 95% of these PEPs are just going to completely fail. And that's why I'm like talking to big RIA firms, whatever, and doing a mega PEP.
Yeah.
Having something that is kind of like a white label solution, kind of a generic name. Everybody thinks it's their own PEP, but it isn't. And access to a fun lineup. I mean, the problem with, I know a lot of plan providers on their MEPs and PEPs, they can't offer multiple fund lineups. But you know how RIAs get, you know, I don't like what Iron or Mesro or Morningstar are doing. I want my own menu of the same Vanguard funds anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is, I think it's going to be successful for some advisors that already have a book of business that could potentially, you know, protect their business, you know, from being stolen from somebody else. So if you want to move a majority of your book to a PEP, it's going to be, you're probably going to, you know, lose some revenue up front, but you're also safeguarding it from somebody else. So the advisors that want to start off in the space and say, hey, I want to create this thing, it's going to be great, I'm going to get a bunch of business by doing it, that's where I see that it's not going to be that successful. But maybe I'm being pessimistic, I don't know.
No, listen, when you've been burned before, I mean, listen, I always say, whenever someone in this business, 22 years in, I'm going to make you rich. They've never made me, maybe a couple of nickels, but never made me rich. I hate when people say, oh my God, you know, I just had a friend of mine, we were trying to do something in the PEP or MEP business. Oh, I'm like, it doesn't work that way. And it's just like, I love enthusiasm, but I also love reality.
Yeah.
And when you've been burned, you know, listen, the most successful MEP I've ever been a part of, we're at over $100 million. Took 6 years to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long process,
yeah.
you know, and I think the most successful PEPs are going to be MEPs that they transition to a PEP.
Yeah.
Because they want the flexibility of getting outside of that space. I just had a phone with that MEP, that my most successful MEP. The advisor wants to open it up and cross state lines that he wasn't able to before.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, Lockton, I saw is starting a MEP. You know, Lockton is a big RA firm, you know, across the country.
Yes.
They're going to be successful at it, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, they will be tremendous at it because they have the advisors that can sell the plan. But those,
exactly. The mega, you know, shops like Lockton and you know, they are going to be successful because they have the advisors and the bandwidth and the plans. You know, for, you know, an RIA that, you know, that has maybe 5 people in his office, it's going to be tough. Like, it's not, you know, I think many times, you know, people look for that magic pill. It's going to say, oh, you know, people are going to jump at. I don't think this is it either. I don't think there is. It's hard work. It's always networking and hard work. I mean, that's just, you know, my opinion.
Oh, you know, the difficulty on a general sales on a single employer 401k plan, how you get a tip and this and that, and how long it works. And sometimes it takes years before you land the client.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
So let's conclude this. So Cleveland sports, how the Browns got to do this year?
Well, if they play, and hopefully they do, look at Rice down there laughing. You know, I actually think this year's gonna be much better. Last year, our head coach was
Freddie.
Yeah, it was not. He wasn't ready for prime time, and the same issue that the Browns have had since they came back in '99. These coaches come in, they think that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. This guy is the first time he's been a head coach. He thinks he's going to be a head coach and offensive coordinator, and he failed miserably at both because you can't do both. Like, you need to run the team. You can't. And he was the first time he was our offensive coordinator for 6 games the previous year. Like, I don't understand that. If I'm put in a position that I'm running a team as a coach, I'm going to get the best people in and delegate to them and let them, you know, help them be successful. And he failed miserably. And now I think he's with the Giants now, isn't he?
Yes, he's an assistant on the Giants. He and Joe Judge. Joe Judge, the story was he built his kid's swing set as a project when he was working for Freddie Kitchens. So he's paying it back. That's the whole storyline. Serious. I'm dead serious. Hilarious, right? I'm like, oh, this is great. We have this guy on our staff because he's good at buildings. He built the other guy's swing set. Like, okay. Giants are a mess too. You guys have so much talent, Chad. The Browns last year, it really, we're spot on talking about the coaching. It's all about the coaching. And I got to hand it, Browns fans are passionate. You guys hang in. It's like being a Mets fan here. You guys hang in through thick and thin, and usually it's just thin.
Yes, exactly. It's an abusive relationship they can't get out of.
How the Indians doing this year? I'm just following the tragedy of the Mets. I mean, how the Indians doing so far?
They're doing all right. They're in second place. They're tied for first.
And Clevenger and what's his name?
Bieber is apparently as good as DeGrom. Chad, would you agree with that? Is that
Bieber this year? He's lights out, man.
Pretty good.
People are saying that. I've heard Indians fans say that. Yeah.
Yeah, he is lights out this year. Clevenger was good, and please, we had a great pitching staff, and we lost two of our starters, just because they wanted to go out and party.
Yeah, but apparently it's Oliver Perez was the guy who, and of course Mets fans remember Oliver Perez. He was the one who's saying that if you bring him back, we're gonna quit or whatever, we're gonna opt out or whatever. It's just that's a mess. But yeah, Cleveland was one of my favorite cities. I went to 47 years, never went to Cleveland, and I went last August. We went to Sandusky, and on the way there, I went to the Indians game, and then we had that 4K conference the next month with you were there with our good buddy Corey Snyder.
Yeah.
It was fun going there. I think it's a great ballpark.
Corey Snyder, the rookie card, Corey Snyder?
The 84 Olympic team, yeah.
Yes. Whit McGuire had his rookie card on that team, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike Dunn. Nobody remembers Mike Dunn.
Oddibe McDowell.
Oddibe.
Yeah, but we had Corey Snyder as a guest, and you brought it was great. You brought your son. Your son was traveling and meeting you in Cleveland, so you could take him to his first Browns game.
Yes. That was probably the best experience I've had with him. It was so he got to fly on a plane by himself, so that was sort of cool. And he's 9, or he was 8 at the time.
It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal. So we flew him up.
I think the first time I flew by myself, I was 18. So
yeah. So he thought he was cool, and I spent a little more on tickets than I probably should have, but we got right over when they walk out, and he was at the hanging over and saying hi to the players, and he literally screamed the entire time. Now, in true Browns fashion, we were playing the Rams. They were winning. Then they were losing at the end, and then they came down the goal line, and on 4th down they threw out of bounds and they lost. But it still was a good game. It still was a fun, great experience.
Yeah, I took my son to Chicago. Then after that, he didn't want to go to any more events. And then we had the event in LA, and I took the family to Disneyland. And the event, it was in February, and we had Steve Garvey. And I said, Jason, you want to go? He's like, no, I already met Steve Garvey. I don't want to go to Dodger Stadium. And then we have other events. And then afterwards, he's like, well, why didn't I go here? Well, you didn't want to go. You didn't want to go to Kansas City. You didn't want to go to, Colorado or some of the other places. And listen, hopefully we get back to it again. We got some dates in 2021. We got St. Louis, Houston, and Minnesota. So hopefully we'll get to do that. But so hopefully we get back to enjoying life again.
You can have one in Charlotte and have Ric Flair. I think you're wrestling.
Charlotte costs a lot of money. Not Charlotte. Rick costs a lot of money. Rick, apparently somebody had looked into it, and Larry told me Rick was $25,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't afford $25,000. So.
There's a great 30 for 30 on Ric Flair, by the way.
Of course there is. I saw that. I own that 30 for 30. I met Ric Flair, so.
I may be able to help you out there. He's good friends.
But he don't live in Charlotte anymore. He lives in Atlanta.
No, but he still comes here a lot. He's good friends with one of my friends. I've actually hung out with Ric Flair.
I met Ric Flair. That's awesome, Chad. Chad, why didn't we lead with that?
I know.
You could have spent the whole 45 minutes for that.
Exactly. It wasn't. So his son used to work out at Bally's, where I worked out at, the one that actually died. So he used to come in and like after wrestling matches sometimes. When he came back, I mean, his head was all cut up, but got to know him there. And then he was next door neighbors with one of my friends. So we went out in downtown Charlotte, and we're all hanging out, and his daughter's name's Charlotte.
No, it's her real name's Ashley, but
Ashley. So she's there with her boyfriend. This is before, I think, either before or maybe she just started wrestling. Well, he didn't like her. He didn't like her boyfriend at all. They start getting into it. Like he punches him in the nuts.
Is that when he got arrested? Were you there?
He didn't get arrested. I left. Like the bouncers coming over to grab him.
I think Rick got arrested for that. It was something with their boyfriend.
It could have been. I took off. I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, I got to meet Ric Flair at a convention a few years back. It was the same convention that I met Dusty Rhodes, who passed away like 6 months later. So yeah. But yeah, Rick. I had looked into doing it at the Panther Stadium, and hopefully we get to this.
Yeah.
I was going to do Vegas in December, and that's not going to happen. It's just every time we think about it, it gets pushed farther and farther and farther away. So. So let's end on Ric Flair. So I appreciate you coming on here. I hope you had fun.
I did. I appreciate you invite me and having me on. Although now that I told that story, I'm sure that Rick probably wouldn't like that, so I probably can't help you out.
like Ric Flair is going to see this,
Yes, that's true.
On my YouTube channel, I get if I get 10 views of a video, that's a big deal. So
But they're very influential wrestling folks, Ari. Yeah. That's the difference.
I always, with wrestling, I always get in my, who I developed a great relationship with on Twitter. Next time, if I ever in Tampa, I got to go to the Rays game. I got to go with Jerry Briscoe.
Oh wow!
It's funny on Twitter. You develop relationships with people, and I've actually had you talk they follow you, you talk and whatever, and you meet some people, whatever. Which it's a lot of fun. So yeah. So I appreciate it, and thank you. And yes, Ric Flair will not be watching this. I'll make sure. Unless I tweet at him, and even then, I don't think he'll watch this.
Yeah.
40 minutes to talk about 401k plans, 3 minutes on Cleveland, and 2 minutes on Ric Flair. I don't know. I appreciate everybody coming out. 2 weeks, we'll do it again. Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you.